All right, so this is essential too. I can compare square roots, okay? And when we talk about compare, most of the time in mathematics, we're basically just saying, um, putting them, comparing which one's bigger, which one's smaller, right? Talking about the ordering, bigger and smaller, okay? So that's what we're looking at is we're just saying, hey, that we can recognize what size the square roots are and then to compare them for their size. One way to do that, the really easy way to do that is to use a number line, right? Numbers that are higher on the number line are bigger, numbers that are lower on the number line are smaller, okay? In other words, from the ones on the right are bigger, ones on the left are smaller. So if you can figure out where on the number line the square root is, right, then you can just look at that ordering. The ones on this side would be smaller, the ones on this side get bigger, right? So what we want to do when we're looking at that is think about what the square roots are. So like when we look at the number 2 here, right? 2 is the same thing or is equal to the square root of 4, right? So these are equivalent. They look different, but they're the same thing, and we've talked about that, right? What does it mean to look different but have that same value? So we could just as easily take the number 2 off this number line and replace it with the square root of 4 here, right? We could write all of these as square roots. So this would be the square root of 1, square root of 4, square root of 9, square root of 16. So we could even write our number line that way since we're going to be using square roots, okay? But we're not used to that. So I think it's better to convert them back to what we're used to and then put them on the number line and then use that for our comparison. Now you'll notice we do have negatives on here because we're going to be doing a Khan Academy topic and they have negative square roots. And so what that would look like is let's just focus on the 2, right? So negative 2, how do we write that as a square root? Is it would just be the negative square root of 4. Okay, so the negative goes outside this is actually called a radical sign, the square root sign. Okay, so that's how those look. Right, other than that, on your Khan Academy, you're going to be asked to do basically 2 different things, right? They're going to give you problems that look like this, where they're going to give you this little table, and then they're going to give you problems where it's just a bunch of boxes. In both cases, really what you're doing is ordering, but on this one specifically, what they're going to have you do is rearrange these and line up these numbers with some points, okay? And then on this one, you're just going to rearrange them and put the smallest box in the front, the middle box in the middle, and the biggest on the end, right on the right side, okay? So we'll do these 2 as an example. I'm going to pause real quick so that way I'm going to put these letters on my number line to make it look like it would look like on Khan Academy. Okay, so you'll see all I did is I just changed the number line up here. I put these A, B, and C's up here. Okay, and we're going to use that in our example 1. So on Khan Academy, they're going to give you a table that looks just like this. There'll be a number line there. On the number line, we'll have the letters that correspond to these points. Okay, and they're not in order, right? A isn't the square root of 36, and so on and so forth. You're going to have to rearrange these boxes. Okay, couple things I just want to point out. These, as far as I've seen, will always be in order up here, right? So since A is the most one on the left, we're going to basically be putting the smallest one on top, right? B is in the middle, so the middle number here, and this will be the biggest number because C is most to the left, okay? And from what I've seen, that's always going to be the case on Khan Academy. So it's smallest on top, the middle number, the biggest number. Is basically how it's just an ordering thing, okay? But pay attention to where they also line up on the number line. That'll help you kind of build a construct of the size of these things. Okay, so basically what I'm looking for is this one is A, which one is somewhere between 2 and 3, right? So hopefully you have your charts that you made, right? So I'm just going to be looking at my chart, and I'm looking for the square root that's somewhere between, right? Since I'm looking between 2 and 3, I'm looking for the square root that's somewhere between 4 and 9, and that's the 7, right? 7's between 4 and 9. So what I would do is I would just click on this and drag it to the top. Obviously, I can't drag mine around. So I'll just put the square root of 7 on the top, right? And then B is somewhere between 4 and 5. Okay, so if I look at the square root of 36, well, the square root of 36 is actually right on 6, right? So I can see that's going to be C. Okay, so then I'm assuming it must be this one. And I drew these on here because I want to point this out. On Khan Academy, some of the squares have these little arrows with this little gray box. It means absolutely nothing. Okay, if you click on them, all it does is it means that the size of this is a little bit bigger than what fits in the box. So if you click on this, this number just kind of shifts around in the box a little bit. Really, so these don't actually mean anything. So I wanted to draw it on here just so you could see. Okay, so these little things mean nothing. So on Khan Academy, don't pay attention to them. You're just looking at the number in here. Okay, and I wanted to do this one because on Khan Academy they also will write them like this. Remember, this little bar just means that this 7, 8 is repeated forever. So it's going 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8. Okay, but really we're not really worried about that. We're just recognizing that this is somewhere between 4 and 5. So this is B here. Again, I can't drag it, so I'm just going to rewrite it. So this is going to be 4.78. Repeating here, and then C we already talked about, right, is 6, and if I look, the square root of 36 is 6. So C is 6, or the square root of 36. Okay, so that's all we're going to be doing for these ones, right? You're just going to be dragging these things and reorganizing them. Okay. If they give you this one, then there'll be words, directions on Khan Academy telling you what to do, but all the words are going to be saying is rearrange these from least to greatest, right? So the smallest number over here, the biggest number over here, okay? So these ones have negatives, and they won't give you a number line. But even though they're not giving you a number line, I would just make a real quick sketch of a number line to use, right? Just to help me order. So it's also going to say do this without the help of a calculator, because really all we're going to be doing is estimating here, okay? So like with this one, it's going to be -3 times pi. I know pi is 3, right? 3.14, about, close enough. So I'm just going to take 3, and since we're estimating, I'm just going to go 3 and a little more, right? So this is going to be 3 times 3 is 9, and a little more means it's going to be somewhere in that 10 range, right? Somewhere between 9 and 10. Do I need to know exactly where? No, I don't. So remember though, what I'm doing here is I'm going to put this right in the middle, right? If I need to extend this line, I will. Okay, so it's -10, and this is going to be -9. Remember, a -10 is smaller than -9 because it's more negative, right? It's more in the whole. So it's over here. And then this is going to be somewhere in between there. Where exactly, it really doesn't matter. But if I had 3.4s, it'd be right in that half range. Or 1.4, sorry. So that's going to be -3 pi is going to be right there. Then I have -64. Okay, so right now I'm just thinking of the 64 without the negative, right? And the square root of 64 is 8. So this one is just the negative of that. So this is going to be -8 exactly. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that one right here. This is -64. And then looking at this one, that's 105, right? So some of us might be getting kind of used to this, but I'm seeing that that's going to be a little bit more than 100. So it's going to be a little bit more than 10, but not quite to 11, right? 105 is in between 100 and 121. So my answer is going to be 10 point something. And that's closer to the 10 than the 11. So here's my negative 10, here's my negative 11. So it's like somewhere in here-ish, right? And so that's your negative 105. And then this is actually the order I would put my boxes in, right? Because remember, we want the smallest on this side and the biggest on this side. And that's how a number line works. So this gives you the order you're going to put your boxes in. So if I could drag them around, I would, but I can't. So I'm just, right? So this one is going to be the negative 105. This one is going to be the negative 3 pi. And this one's going to be the negative square root of 64. Right? And then you just drag those boxes around and submit. Okay, so those are the only two kind of problems you're going to be working with on this in Khan Academy. Okay, we're going to do real quick bonus footage. At this point, you can be done, but there are a few problems that talk about cubed roots on the Khan Academy. There's 3 problems on there. If you don't, just click by them. Click the hints, answer them. That's fine. You don't need to know how to do those for right now. Okay. If you want to watch, we're going to do a real quick, just 3-minute rundown on cubed roots. Okay. And here's how cubed roots work. One, we know it's a cubed root and not a square root because it has a little 3 in here. And if I put something in here like 8, okay, we're asking ourselves the same thing we did with the square roots. The only difference is I'm not asking what number squared because this isn't squared, that's a cube. So I'm saying what number cubed is 8, right? In other words, what number multiplied by itself 3 times, okay? This is literally a guess and check operation. The ones they're going to give you are always going to be perfect cubed roots, which means it's always going to be a whole number you're going to put in the box here. Right? So if you're not sure, just guess, right? Like let's try 1. 1 times 1 times 1. Well, that ain't going to work. It's going to be 1, right? And if I went to, hey, maybe it's 3, right? So 3 times 3 is 9. I'm already too big. And then times another 3 would give me 27. So that doesn't work. So I know this one was too big, that one was too small, so it's the number right in the middle. It's 2, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, right? So the number here has to be 2. Again, since you're going to be doing a lot of these, you could create a cubed root chart. I'm sorry, you're not going to be, you're going to run across these a few times, but remember the numbers are always the same. So we know the cubed root of 1 was 1, cubed root of 8 is going to be 2, and I already do the 3 as well, right? 3 times 3 times 3 was 27, we said. So the cubed root of 27 is 3, right? And remember they have these little 3's right there. Okay, so again, you don't have to know how to do these. We're not going to be assessing you on these, but they do pop up on Khan Academy. So this is how you handle a cubed root. All right, at this point, you should go over to your Khan Academy and do that assignment.